Well, howdy there, friends. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We've got some show for you. We've got some jokes for you. Here we go. Let's start off with a few jokes, shall we? Why did the man bring a ladder to his relationship? Because he heard the best way to improve it was to take it to the next level. Oh my goodness. What do you call two birds in love? Tweethearts. Why did the husband bring a pencil to bed? Because he wanted to draw his wife's attention. How do you know you're in a serious relationship? Well, when you can look at your significant other and you can say that you're gaining weight and she doesn't even bat an eyelid. Why did the couple go to the gym together? They heard it was the best way to work on a core issue. What did one partner say to another during an argument? I love you, but I'm still right. Why did the couple break up at the gym? Because they weren't working out. Oh my goodness, my goodness. Bad jokes, bad jokes. We have got that and so much more. But unfortunately, a lot of the things that we're going to show today are not bad jokes. They are reality because we're talking all about relationships, problems. There's clear signs of a dying relationship, narcissists. We have had so many different things that have come in this past week. So many questions, so many things that have been going on, so many things that are happening that people want us to talk about on today's show. But I think before we do that, we're going to roll some credits. Sit and enjoy.
Mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul. Let the music roll. Feel the rhythm grow. Mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul. Let the music roll. Feel the rhythm grow. Mind, body, soul.
Well, howdy there, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Mind, Body, and Soul podcast with your lovable host, John Morris, the artist, author, and mental health mentor. If you have been to our website this past week, you may have struggled getting in. Well, the reason you would have struggled getting in is because yours truly was spending a lot of time updating some things. And if you head to thejohnmorris.co.uk. Right now, you can check out our homepage. Don't go right now. You want to watch the show, of course. But if you go after the show, you will find a brand new homepage, and it is for mental health therapy. And that is something that, as a psychologist in training, I'm now offering. We've got some clients that have been coming through asking about it. So we want to open it up to the masses and let you know that we're providing the very best mental health therapy that is out there. And one thing that I've got to say, because I found this out this morning, legally, I have to say this, that a therapist around the world now, a good therapist around the world, is becoming harder and harder to find. Why? Because they have been told by law that they have to agree with their clients. Well, I have a simple statement that says, I will always listen to you. I will always try and see things from your point of view. But I may not always agree with you, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're coming to someone for therapy, then at the end of the day, the last thing that you want is for them to agree with you. What you actually want is for them to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what we intend to do today. In today's topic, we are talking all about relationships. We are going to be playing some absolute crackers for reaction videos that exist out there. We're going to be talking all about that and so much more in today's show. Before we start, of course, we don't want you to remember, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, because it could be the very thing that they need to hear in their time of struggle. We're just going to run a very quick ad, folks, just so as you can see it for the very first time. So here you go. Here's a little bit of what you can expect with Mind, Body, and Soul. So as you can see here, we're mastering your mind, mastering your emotions, mastering your environment, helping you get from where you are to where you want to be. It's a two-pronged attack, literally, where we help you first master your internal world, and then we help you master your environment. And that's where the artwork comes in. That's where changing your environment and helping you shift some things all comes to pass. And you can see here all the happy smiling faces, which is all what it's about. We want to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. But without further ado, we have got some videos that have come in. Now, these have been sent to me and to the team. I haven't seen them. I haven't sat there watching them and everything else, so I don't necessarily know what's coming up, but they're all about relationships. And relationships are a really important part of life. But the problem is, globally, it seems, all over social media, people have forgotten what a relationship actually is. And a relationship is essentially how you relate to one another. People get into relationships because they believe it's going to make them a better person, or it provides, stability. It provides, an absence of loneliness. It provides so much for them. But what they forget oftentimes is it's what you bring to the relationship as well that is going to indicate, as you will see in today's video, literally how successful your relationship is or isn't. The first video that we've got teed up here looks a little bit odd, so I'm going to just pull that up and see what we've got. Next. Like I said, folks, I haven't seen these, but that's indicative actually of some of the stuff that's floating around there on TikTok, and we're going to look at it from a psychological perspective. I'm assuming that was just thrown in there as a warm-up one to get things going, but this one here looks interesting, so have a note.
I don't need a man, I want a man, and there's a difference. And I'm definitely not desperate to have a man. So I'm like, if you think I'm just gonna let you walk in and give me the very, very bare minimum, no, absolutely not. And I know a lot of guys will get mad, like your standards are way too high, because I know what I deserve and I know exactly what I give. I bring so much to the table, I might as well be the table. And if you're not gonna help me support the weight of that table, what is the point of having you around? I'm the type of woman, you had a bad day, you had a long day, babe, let me take care of you. I'll make dinner, you just, you relax. Do what you need to do to decompress. Even if I had a long day, yours was longer, I'll make that sacrifice. That's cool. But if you think that I'm gonna ask you, me asking a man for flowers, no, the audacity of that thought. I'm not gonna be asking no man for flowers when I know there's a man out there who will build me a garden in front of my house just because he knows I like flowers. You know where I'm coming from? Like, you get what you give. And if you do that thing where you come in, you do everything in your power to woo me, and then I finally let you in, and then you start slacking just because you got me, don't think that I'll just sit there in place. I'ma definitely keep it moving. You got me can change real quick until you had me. You know where I'm coming from? Like, it's not hard to understand.
Wow. Don't know about you guys and girls, and please do feel free to comment in the comment section, of course. As an old traditionalist, I see something like that. And first of all, again, I remember the culture. So first of all, I believe that lady is from, by the sounds of it, the United States. I'm guessing going to be from California, somewhere around there. So we're looking at the mindset, we're looking at the culture that she's raised in. She's looking at the culture of what's going on. Now, without even knowing her, immediately, I would be concerned. I would be concerned for any guy jumping aboard, because if she's saying, no, I don't need no man to tell me to buy me flowers, to do anything, oh, look at me, baby, yeah, woo, kind of thing. It's like, are you listening to yourself? Now, all the things that she said on there, I don't need a man, to tell me what to do, sugar. The reality is that if she didn't want that and she didn't feel the need to have that, she wouldn't have posted that on social media. I get we are living in a very crazy world right now where, this new age feminism, is literally spiraling out of control, and all sorts of crazy stuff is going on. But to be so, dare I say it, it literally is verging on obnoxious how she was behaving, in my view. Yes, she knows what she wants. She knows how she's going to get it. But the way she's presenting herself, the walls are up, the barriers are up, and she's hiding behind this and going, look, I don't need no man. I don't need no man. It's like, okay, immediately what you're telling me is you have serious issues with guys, that you have met and that you've encountered. So when you're looking at this, immediately I would say, well, who are you attracting into your life that makes you feel that you have to have all these walls up, all these barriers up, you need to be all the time, as opposed to, I don't need a guy, but I like when the right one's there. and it's the attitude how you talk about it. It's like, you're always alone, but you're only lonely if you don't like the person you're alone with. So you can be in a relationship with someone, you can have hot passion, you can have great sex, you can have great chemistry, but you can be laying there in bed of a nighttime, back to back, shoulder to shoulder, and literally be like, man, what am I doing? What on earth's happening in life? I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy because you haven't figured out what a relationship is, first and foremost. But secondly, you've got so many walls up, like this girl has, that literally it's like, well, I don't need you. I can get a man to do whatever I want. There was a video that I saw the other day that I don't think we've got in the clip section. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. But it literally was, all I want was a man to worship the ground I walk upon. And I sat and I listened for probably all about 3 or 4 minutes. And this person was like, I've been with this guy for 5 years. We're broken up. We got back together. It's familiar. He's cheated on me. He's talking about someone else. He's done this. He's done that. He's done the other. And yet you keep going back to him. And what that is again, and I've had this conversation with clients in the sessions this past week over and over and over and over again. It's the narcissistic personality that gets you to believe, if you're a female or if you're a male, that gets you to believe that you are under his thumb or under her thumb, and they get you to believe that you need them, that you can't function without them. So they play head games with you over and over and over and over again. And there's so much more that I've got to say in today's show. But that is, I would find that concerning. Okay, let's jump on to the next video, shall we?
Women need someone better than them. Smarter than them, fitter than them, bigger than them, more inspiring than them, more successful than them. Otherwise, where's the attraction?
It's true.
I'm asking. Maybe some women don't mind, but I mind. I need to be inspired by the guy. Otherwise, I'll eat them for breakfast. I'll finish them off in 24 hours. I also need someone to handle me. And only an alpha or a double alpha can do that.
Okay, word association with that video, deeply insecure. How did I know she was deeply insecure? First of all, by the emotional leakage, shall we say, that her face was displaying. Did you notice in the eyes? Did you notice she's talking with her hands a lot in a very insecure way? She's like, yeah, and I will eat them for breakfast. There was a slight tremor in the voice as well when she said, I will eat them for breakfast. Here's the thing about that. I see a video like that. And I don't know if she's single, I don't know if she's married, I don't know if she's in a relationship, whatever she is. Again, I'm only going on the basis of what I'm seeing right here, right now. But I see a video like that, and I'm thinking, well, and again, I'm sure little old me wouldn't even be in the running category for a girl like that, for whatever reason. Just to put it out there, I'll do self-depreciation for myself. But the reality is, I hear a video like that, I hear somebody talking, and immediately I'm like, not interested, because she's either one of two things. She's either an extreme narcissist that is egocentrical, and all about herself and all about her business, all about her career. I go to work, I provide. I'm the mega woman. I'm the woman of 2024, 2025. I'm amazing. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, all of that kind of stuff. But expecting the man to do the exact same thing, again, by her accent, very well raised, very posh, and at least the illusion of it. So she has a certain level of expectation. She has a certain level of function. What tends to happen when women look at a potential mate is they marry. Well, let's go for marry. They marry along and up, which means they are looking to marry along to someone of their own level, or up to someone that's a higher level of them, because it gives them extra security. It gives them financial security. It gives them physical security. It gives them a mental, emotional, and spiritual security. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel warm and centered. Men tend to marry along and down, which means that the man's focus is actually biologically, evolutionary, is all about the children. It's all about the bloodline. It's passing on the bloodline. That is the main focus of the male. Okay, so that they will marry along and they'll marry down, which means, guys, we got it good because there's more in the pool for us, whereas women, and statistically, sorry to say, girls, but you guys have a harder time meeting somebody because you are looking higher, than where you're at. You're looking for something specific. A guy apparently will just jump in, and build a life with someone who connects with them on certain levels and does certain things on certain levels. But a lady, a woman, again, is looking for more specific things. Sorry, folks, we've got some light that's shining through. It's almost sunny here in Scotland. You wouldn't believe it, I know, but it almost is. But that is what is going on. That's what's happening. But I hear something like that, like I said, and can we just play that again? Because there was something.
Women need someone better than them. Smarter than them, fitter than them, bigger than them, more inspiring than them, more successful than them. Otherwise, where's the attraction?
It's true.
I'm asking. Maybe some women don't mind, but I mind. I need to be inspired by the guy. Otherwise, I'll eat them for breakfast. I'll finish them off in 24 hours. I also need someone to handle me. And only an alpha or a double alpha can do that.
So again, that whole thing and I had to watch that again, the certain shrug of the shoulders. She's sitting there looking at a very handsome guy who she is clearly, big cow eyes, lips drying out. These are all telltale signs and signals. She's letting him know. Again, it is that primordial sort of response and feel and move and everything else that she is looking for and that she is doing. And that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm seeing from that video for sure. So when I'm looking at things like that, he's like, and he's a big, strong guy. He is the kind of guy that she's trying to attract, but that nervous twitch, that nervous energy, he wasn't specifically looking at her saying, yeah, I'd like a piece of that. He was actually saying, yeah, sure. Okay. That's just my interpretation from a 35-second video. So let's just pause there momentarily and let's talk about some things here that are going on. How social media influences our perception of relationships is uncanny. So a lot of people perceive social media as, again, the truth. As we've talked about so many times in this show, people believe that what they're seeing is reality. Perception is reality, but social media is presenting to you the very best parts of themselves. Whoever's on social media, whether an influencer, that is not their real every single day life. If you'd seen me every single day this week, I am not dressed like this. I do not have the background here. We were focused on the website. We were building. We were, I was a, sweaty mess, stuck in an office. It's absolutely roasting. That is the reality of life when you're building something. But when people see you on social media, when you see them on videos like this, and you're all dressed out, pristine and everything, or you're doing conferences, people see only the best of you, and they're like, wow, you look amazing. You're all this great stuff going on. But the reality is very, very different. So always remember that social media's perception is not reality. It is fundamentally vital that you remember that. I think we've already discussed narcissism for sure. Again, just going through it. Let's just touch a little bit about this for a second. The things to look out for from a narcissist are things like unfeeling people, uncaring, emotionless, not interested in you, trying to control all the time, trying to get you by yourself all the time, asking you to do things that you might not be comfortable with, asking you to nudge that little bit further in terms of your limits, in terms of your boundaries, and not really giving you an out, cutting off your support lines. That's all definition of a narcissist. What happens oftentimes then is when a relationship breaks up, you sit there pining for the person. Part of the reason people pine after a relationship is over is because you are remembering the familial. You are remembering what was, you're remembering the good times, but you're literally sitting there saying, you know what do I do now? How do I get on with my life? So you're trying to exist without this other person. And that's why it's always important that in relationships, you never give so much of yourself away that if it ends, you can't function. So that's really important to remember for sure. Let's go to another video, shall we? Let's see another clip and see what we have going on here.
A lot of women are ruining good relationships, and they think it's the other person's fault. They think they have no part to play. Oh, well, he just shut down. If he's not emotionally mature enough to communicate his feelings, then that has nothing to do with me. That's on him, and he needs to grow, and he gonna move on and be with somebody else. And you're gonna sit there right by yourself, and you're gonna be right for the moment, but you're gonna get left in the relationship. You unload all your chaos until he's had enough, and then you try to find a new man and do the same thing. Whenever that man stops talking to you, be afraid. You see, when your man is very vocal, you better appreciate that man being straightforward, because let me tell you something, the minute that he stops talking, you need to be worried. Because either he's playing an exit strategy, he talking to somebody else, he cheating with somebody else, or he's in this relationship and he's done with you. And he's just still there.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit more, but before we do so, let's go to commercial. Have you ever wanted to celebrate your fur baby in the best way possible? Something that you can treasure, something that captures the heart and soul of your furry friend? Well, look no further. With paintourpet.com, you have the opportunity to commission an amazing painting from internationally renowned artist John Morris. John has worked with literally hundreds and hundreds of clients from around the world. John's paintings not only have the ability to capture the heart and soul of each and every subject that he paints, but also has the power to evoke an emotional response from all who see his work. Now, if this sounds like the very thing you've been searching for to celebrate your fur baby in the most amazing way possible, then don't delay. Head on over to paintourpet.com today for a free, no obligation quote, and to order your very, very own custom-made, hand-painted masterpiece. That's paintourpet.com. We look forward to hearing from you today. Hey folks, and welcome back. So, just before the commercial break, we were looking at a video, obviously, that was a little bit different, shall we say, because it was all about the man. It was, you know, if your man is talking to somebody else, if your man's ignoring you, if your man's doing this, if your man's doing that, you need to be worried, you need to be aware, you need to be awake. I think so many people have gotten into relationships these days, because I hear about them so often and I work with clients who have gone through this, that literally are in a relationship that has just naturally happened in some ways. And what I mean by that is they haven't thought about who it is that they want to be with. They haven't thought about the kind of qualities and characteristics that, you know, that their mate has to exemplify, and the kind of personality that they have to exemplify. They've just thought, yeah, he looks nice, she looks nice, great, attraction's there, boom, let's sit there talking, la, 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 you know, and everything's fine. But they haven't actually asked, you know, the questions like, am I still going to find this person attractive when they're 50 years old? When everything starts to sag, male and female, when, you know, literally their looks have gone, when their head is bald, you know, as a baby's shaved ass, you know, are they literally going to sit there and say, you know, to themselves, well, what is it that I really, really want? So that's why people in their 40s specifically have this midlife crisis, and they freak out because they want to go with somebody young, because they haven't forged a deep enough relationship with the person that they are with. In the Bible, it talks about, right in the book of Genesis, where Adam and Eve leave the garden and the Garden of Eden, and God replaces the entrance to the Garden of Eden with angels with flaming swords, and they can move in all sorts of different directions. Well, what is the significance of that? Well, here's what Jordan Peterson had to say. The significance of that is that a sword cuts, okay? Fire burns. So you've got a sword that can cut and burn, but more so than that, can also move in every single direction possible. So there is literally no way that they can get back into the Garden of Eden. But here's the other thing. If you put that into a relationship, if you've got somebody around you 24 hours a day, if you're married, they always say that you never really know somebody until you live with them, until you're married to them, until you spend that amount of time together. And it is true. You will find things out about your significant other that you never knew possible. Okay? So the swords are moving all over the place. That is what your significant other is. That's why so many relationships become a statistic, because your significant other. It's called iron sharpening iron. They will expose things in you that you do not like. They will force things out of you that you didn't know existed. They will make you angry in ways that they did not know or that you didn't know physically possible. You will have anger in places that you didn't even know you had places. And if your significant other doesn't, your in-laws will certainly work it out of you, because that's seemingly what they do. Or your parents will do it, one of the other. So when you get to that point, it is vitally important that you stop and you start to look around and say, can I actually spend the rest of my life with this person, or this significant amount of time with this person? Because if you can't, you are going to be really, really miserable. What the girl was saying there about, before commercial break, what the girl was saying there, again, if somebody is, talking to somebody else, if somebody else is not paying attention to you, it comes back to how strong is your relationship. The problem, again, for a lot of people, here's another problem for you folks, is that one person believes they can just turn up in a relationship. The other person's ready to start working on the relationship and doing stuff. So the other person that's ready to work on the relationship's going up and up and up, but the other person isn't going anywhere. And what happens is point A doesn't do any work, expects all point B to do all the work, and eventually point B gets sick and tired of it. And they turn around and say, you know what? I don't want to be in this relationship. I want to be in a relationship where two people are going together. That is why so many faith-based, true faith-based, now whatever your faith is, or moral-based or spiritual-based, there has to be a basis somewhere where you're both moving towards a central goal and you're moving together, because then you interlock. Because you are at your most happiest, believe it or not, when you have got a goal to work towards. If you're anything like me, you are miserable when you haven't got a goal, when something's been completed, when you're waiting for the next project to start. You're like, no. What shall I do now? Okay, and especially if you're coming off busy times. And if you haven't got that united front together where you're moving towards something, eventually boredom happens, tedium happens. You're laying in bed together and you're like, great, I've got my life, you've got your life, but we haven't got our life. And that's one of the really important things. If you're getting into a relationship, you've got your stuff and your junk and your baggage that you are bringing to the relationship, and he or she has got their junk baggage that they're bringing to their relationship, and you work through that together. Okay, and guess what? Just to throw something else into the mix, as if we hadn't thrown enough into the mix for relationships. Along your journey, you're both going to pick up more junk, more baggage, more guck, muck, and yuck. Okay, and that may come in the form of in-laws. That may come in the form of children. That may come in the form of not being able to have children. You're going to pick up so much guck, muck, and yuck that if your relationship is not built on a firm, solid foundation, that you are going to eventually say, I'm done with this, I'm walking away. And this is what's happening for so many couples around the world. Look at Britney Spears in K-Fed. I think she went up the aisle, came down 15 minutes later, they were divorced. I don't know what happened, but that is a reality. But this is what you've got to look at here, is divorce seems to be almost like the new birth control. We've talked about this in the previous episodes, all about the conversation we had in there. I won't get into there. You can go and check out the videos. But it seems to be like the quick fix. It's like, well, I don't like you anymore. You don't fulfill me anymore. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get divorced. It is not the answer. Why do you think so many old couples stayed together? Oh, because they couldn't get divorced. Well, from 1945, 1946 here in the UK onwards, they could. But they stuck it out. They talked, they shouted, they screamed, they had the fights, they had the argument, because it's like a pressure cooker. And if you don't release that pressure, then you will literally erupt on the first thing that comes around. And if that's your kids, well, that's the memory that your kids have with you. So you want to get your you-know-what sorted before you bring kids into the equation. But ideally, you want to be able to manage yourself. Go to work on yourself more than you do anything else. Because if you go to work on yourself more than you do anything else, your significant other will notice. They'll go to work on themselves, hopefully, if they're a self-aware person. This, again, is why it's really important about who you choose to be your mate. Don't just accept anybody. Final point I want to make before we go on to our next video is this. So many clients this past week And I'm delighted, honestly, that our practice is filling up so quickly. If you don't know what's going on, let's just refresh your memory. The Mind, Body, and Soul mental health therapy practice is now open. We have a limited amount of spaces available, and the idea is to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. We listen to you. We may not always agree with you, and that is one of our biggest statements, because ultimately you don't want us just to agree with you, but we want to teach you how to master your mind and ultimately how to change and master your environment, using color and so much more. And as an artist, I can talk about that for days. So if that's something you'd be interested in, head on over to thejohnmorris.co.uk. You can check it out. You'll have an amazing time, and you get to work with me one-on-one or as part of a group. How awesome is that? But what I was going to say before we move on is, with regards to relationships, you got to know, first of all, what you're getting into. Now, sometimes that can be really difficult, because as I've seen a number of times when people have been talking to me this week, their partner, we'll leave it at that, presented a certain outward appearance that when they got down the line, they weren't who they thought they were. Now, sometimes that is very, very hard to spot. But once you start noticing the telltale signs, like rudeness, like disrespect, like what else? Narcissistic behavior, psychopathic behavior, sociopathic behavior. All of those, by the way, are actually things that I've got. If I nearly said if the significant other is beating you and becoming physically violent, all these should be massive telltale signs. But the ultimate thing that you want to do in the first sort of 2 or 3 dates that you have together is have some of those serious conversations. So the first one, you go out, you have a nice time together, you have fun, you get to know each other, and it's lovely. Then the second date, okay, what are some of your aspirations in life? What are you working towards? What's going on? Because this is going to be a really good determining factor whether or not you're a fit for one another. So, for example, when my wife and I met, I was a youth minister. She was volunteering at youth groups. She was volunteering at various stuff. She had her own business, and I had my own business. Both of them were really, really small. And we're like, okay, super. We've got enough in common, and even the faith-based aspects, and have the conversations about sex. Okay, sex. We don't spell it out if you want that. Sex, shout it if you want, whatever works for you, but have the conversations, because you need to have very clear understanding of the expectations, what he or she expects from you. If they're saying, well, and this usually happens with guys or whoever has the higher sex drive. If you're a guy and you're saying, gosh, I want to have it 17 times a week, and you're a girl and you say, well, or a woman, I only want it, once or twice a week. Then you've got to find some sort of compromise here and have the open conversations early. Don't get into a relationship to the point where you're engaged, married, living together, more serious than anything else. We'll circle back to living together in a minute, because I've got some interesting things that Dr. Peterson was talking about, but I'll get to that momentarily. But don't get into anything serious until you have these conversations, because it is so vitally important that you know where you stand. You want to know where you stand on children, on marriage, on faith, where you're going to live, how people are with their families. So, because this is an investment that you're making with your life. And if it does not work out and you have not asked all these questions, you've only really yourself to look at times and say, gosh, I wish I'd known that if I'd only asked. Obviously, I'm simplifying it. Equally, if you've asked all these things and something crops up later on in time, at least you've done all you can do. The one thing that I was going to say about living together, and this is always something that's really interesting. I know we're pushing over time a little bit here. It's probably going to be closer to the 45-minute mark. If you can, thank you. Just our producer, just tell him what's going on. So if you're living together, here's what often happens is, it's almost a symbolic message that I'm only with you right now until something better comes along. Not in every single case, I've got to stress that, but that's in the majority of cases what's happening. So what happens is they live together, they eventually get married after years and years and years. What happens? Usually within the first 3 years, the marriage falls. Why does the marriage fall? Because the significant other who is living with you quite happily, who hasn't instigated and initiated the marriage ceremony and marriage sort of proceedings, is literally thinking, gosh, I'm trapped. Whereas when you just live in with someone, it is a case of, well, I can stay with them until something better comes along, but more so, when as soon as that ring goes on the finger and they feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't know it was leading to this, even though nothing's changed, they will literally sit there and say, my goodness, now I'm trapped. I'm trapped, I'm trapped, trapped. And they will want to get out. They'll freak out. They'll have all manner of things that are going on in their heads. And literally, that is one of the high statistics for people and for marriages, relationships breaking up, breaking down. So my advice is, if you are going to live together, do not put it off. Do not do it for a long time before you get married, if that's where you are leading. So with that said, let's move on, shall we, into one of the next videos. What have we got? What have we got left to pull from? Let's have a nosy.
A man who acts like a man, who's manly, who takes care of things. I don't need you to kill an alligator with your hands, but I need to feel so feminine around you because you are so masculine that I can turn my brain off because I know you've got it. I trust your intellect. I trust your character. I trust that I can close my eyes and follow you blindly and I'm going to be happy about where I end up. You tell me where we're going and we're all set. And we live in a time of new age feminism and this whole idea that women and men need to be the same and they need to compete, and it's all from the enemy. It's all lies.
Okay, some really interesting perspectives there. First of all, no woman has ever asked me to kill a crocodile for her. I'm not sure I would, quite honestly. You know, that's you know. Anyway, in all seriousness, though, one of the things that she brings up is really significant, and I want everyone to take notice of this. So the way women's minds works from a psychological perspective, from an evolutionary point of view, is they tend to be more anxious. Why do they tend to be more anxious? Because there were things like crocodiles, there were things like bears, lions, tigers roaming around the woods when you guys were living in caves, or when we were all living in caves, and we were looking around, and they are scanning around for predators. Fast forward a couple of thousand years, and that is the same thing that's happening now, except looking around for lions, tigers, and bears in literal form. They're looking around for lions, tigers, and bears, wolves in physical form, as in human beings, in terms of other threats. Women are scanning around for a lot more threats because genetically, biologically, they are, dare I say it, it's a horrible thing, but they have not got the same strength as men, pound for pound, woman for woman, you know, around the world. That is not a knock. That is the way that you are made, and that is fine. We are made very, very differently. The man's role, evolutionary, historically, was to be the protector, to go out bashing the crocodiles in the head, to go out swinging the, you know, meerkats around his head if they were going to attack, I don't know, whatever. Or, you know, the tigers, the lions in Scotland, the boars, you know, the wolves that are going to destroy the family unit and everything else. The man was the protector. Now, again, we've talked about this before so many times that the male role now has been somewhat skewed by feminism. And women actually admit this. You can go on YouTube and see many, it's not just me that's saying this because I'm a guy, you know, believe it or not. But the reality is, if the beard doesn't give it away, I know it's difficult sometimes to tell a woman from a man these days. It's, you know, anyway. But the reality is that you have to understand that the masculine role is vital in a relationship, okay? This whole idea of toxic masculinity now, I think, is absolutely stupid because it's gotten so many men, young men especially, that have no idea where they are in the world, that have no idea of their place in the world. Let's face it, human beings are the only creatures that come onto this planet that are literally just completely and utterly unsettled by their environment. A lion comes into the world, he knows instinctively what to do. A tiger comes into the world, she knows instinctively what to do. You know, a badger comes into the world, he knows what to do. You know, the deer come into the world, they know what to do. But human beings come into the world and like, what the heck am I meant to do? And they spend their entire life trying to figure out their purpose. You know, they really, really do. And the purpose is very, very simple. It's you live, you breathe, you choose what you do, and you go forth from there. You know, really, I'm simplifying, of course. But this has to stop. So the problem is when you start having this masculine toxicity going on, you've got young teenagers now looking for, you know, guidance and mentoring. So they'll go on the phones and they'll listen to people and lunatics like Andrew Tate. They'll listen to people, well, fill in the blank. There's enough lunatics out there, like Grant Cardone and whoever else is out there. But Tate is, but they will hear advice like that. You can get any woman you want. Let's join the war room. Let's destroy this and that. You are not finding peace in any way, shape, or form in these things. I love when she said, I want you to be so masculine that I can be ultimately feminine, in my own self. I can be so secure. Basically, what she's saying is she wants a man to be a man and the man to be the protector, rather than feeling like, oh my goodness, if somebody breaks into my house, I can't defend myself. Because here's the thing. If you're expecting the woman to defend herself and three big burly men are broken into your house and you're expecting the woman to defend herself, what are you going to say then? Oh, the newspaper comes along, your wife's dead, oh, what'd you do? Ah! Well, I couldn't do anything. Why? Oh, because it's toxic masculinity. Come on. We have got to get away from this. Again, I've said this so many times, the world has got to wake up and see what's going on, because it's getting more and more disturbing and bizarre. There is a video here before our final video, because the final one's a corker. I did see it and I have chosen the final one. We've had some real corkers on this one, but this is a nice thing, shall we say, of what, dare I say it, an older relationship looks like. Just to have a look at this. So Katie and I have been married 10 years in April. We have gone through our fair share of trials, and I mean a lot of trials: health problems, in-laws problems, church problems. We have gone through business problems. We've had unbelievable stuff that has gone, I don't know why people say that, it is believable, but we've had immense battles that we've had to face through our lives. And the saving grace of all of this, the reason that we've stayed together, even at times when we literally was like, I don't know how I can control this, is because we made a commitment to one another that said, I will love you, I will honor you, no matter what. Okay? So whether that was my health problems, whether that was her health problems, the biggest issues that we ever faced was all external. It was in-laws problems. It was church problems. It was never about money. It was never. So again, if you are smart in your relationship, you have to limit the amount of input that external forces have around you. And that is down to you for your own spiritual awareness, to be aware and to say, okay, this person here has been a negative influence. My husband, my wife, significant other is riled by them all the time. Okay, what do I do here? Right, well, we're going to limit the amount of time that we spend together. It's as simple as that. But here's one little telling thing, because this happened recently to us, and it was it was a game changer for us. Your significant other needs to hear from you that things are going to be, even if you believe that they know things are going to be all right, you believe that they know, whatever it is that you're trying to say, you still have the responsibility to utter the words, it's going to be all right. I'm not holding you under pressure. I'm not, building this fabricated, issue in my mind. I care for you. I love you. They need to hear the words, and men especially, because I know we come across as, having it all together and, the reality is that we still need to hear the words. It is vitally important. Vitally important. With some of the aforementioned people and the final video we're going to see, honestly, I would not be surprised if we're talking multiple divorces, because they have no idea about what a relationship is, because all they're thinking about is, well, I want to know what I can get, and I want to know what you're going to give me, and I want to know how amazing you're going to make my life. The reality is, it's not what you can get, it's what you can give. And when you meet two people that are giving, you have a foundation for a decent relationship, because they're not all focused about them. That is one of the biggest problems that's going on. One of the biggest problems. And you're going to see it in this final video. So hold on to your hats.
What's your biggest turnoff in guys?
Probably when they don't work out, go to
Oh,
the
really?
gym and stuff. Yeah.
White men.
So what do you guys prefer in a guy?
Really rich,
Really black.
at least 6'5".
6'5"?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's 6'5". He's got to be taller, you know?
You know? Yeah, just lots of money, really. Yeah.
Like a yacht and stuff?
Yeah. That kind of thing. Can buy me fancy things, take me on trips, pay my rent.
Between men or women, who has a harder life?
Absolutely women.
Why?
We bleed for a week a month. We are
We're sexualized everywhere we go.
Get like catcalled?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The parking lot tenant tried to steal me before.
Not me.
Anyone try to steal you today?
We can.
We can.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
I got like 20 girlfriends back at the crib.
Oh, shit.
What's
Yeah.
22 then?
I'm okay.
See what I mean? We have a harder life.
Okay. Now, a lot of people say that that's staged. Whether it's staged or it isn't staged, the reality is it serves as a great example of the kind of girls or guys, if they're behaving that way, that you have to avoid. If you've got a shred of respect for yourself, if you've got an ounce of integrity for yourself, and you're hearing and seeing people like that, if you're not interested in a long-term relationship, you're interested in a one-night stand, you're interested in a quick hookup, get your fix, do your thing, and move on, then that's the kind of girl for you. Ultimately, those kind of girls and those kind of guys, that personality type where, again, it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me, is deluded. It's absolutely deluded. So those two girls in particular, now, again, looking at, they know what they like. Okay, they live, in potentially that fantasy. They have that idea, their ideal. They know what they want, and hallelujah to them. More for them. But the realities of them getting a 6'5" guy who's black, who's ripped, who's basically a Greek god, he's gonna look at them, and more often than not, is going to turn around and say, where's my crucifix? Something along those lines. Because the reality is, they're not bringing anything to the relationship. They will pay my rent, buy me pretty things, basically, do whatever you want to do, give me a great life and everything. It goes back to that whole statement that was made earlier of, I just want someone to worship the ground that I walk on. When you're in a relationship, here's why it's so vitally important for you to go to work on yourself more than you do on your business, on your work, on anything. Because if you're single right now, and here's the thing, from a faith-based point of view, if you're sitting there praying, which very few people do, in terms of praying for the right person to come into their life, or someone that they can connect with, someone that they can at least develop something with, an opportunity, okay? If you're looking at a guy who's like a Greek god, he's muscles everywhere, really great personality, lots of money and everything, and you look like they do, those girls, let's
What's your biggest turnoff in guys?
Probably.
Okay, these girls, and you're literally sitting there saying, right, what do I need to do to attract that into my life? Well, first of all, for me, attitude. Everyone, maybe bar two people on the videos today, their attitude has sucked. Again,
Women need someone
girl number one,
better than them.
attitude sucks.
I don't need a man, I want a man, and there's a difference. And I'm
girl number
definitely
two,
not desperate to have a
attitude
man.
Where are we?
What's your biggest turnoff in guys?
Girl number three's attitude sucked. This is my opinion, folks. Do with it what you will. I'm very, very simple, very minimalistic. I live an incredibly simple life. I know you probably wouldn't know what to think or to look at me. But the reality is, none of them have looked and said, hey, what do I need to do to attract that kind of guy into my life? Because what I'm getting from all three of them is essentially the kind of relationship that Andrew Tate describes, where literally, sorry for being crass and crude, mom, but you bang him and leave. And the reality is that if you are looking for something that has depth, if you're looking for something that has life and love and that's based on something, then you've got to look and say, what am I bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? Now, going back to, if you're sitting there and you're praying and praying and praying, and God doesn't seem to be answering your prayers, well, here's the thing. Ask yourself, am I ready right now to meet Mr. Right, Mrs. Right? For me, am I ready to meet this person? Because here's the thing. If you meet the right person at the wrong time, it's going to fail. If you meet the wrong person at the right time, it's going to fail. If you meet the right person at the right time, but you are not ready for a relationship, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fail. It's absolutely going to fail. And it's going to fail because you have very little mutual ground to base a relationship on, which is why it's vital you have the conversations, which is why it's vital you are comfortable in yourself, which is why it's vital that you can literally look in a mirror and say, okay, if this works out, hallelujah, brilliant, I'm so in love. If it doesn't work out, hallelujah, I'm so in love with myself that I can go forward. I can do, I can still be, I can still exist. Having the conversations early on, even though they may be uncomfortable, a little bit like, especially if you're younger, okay, but are so vital because what it means is you're not wasting your time. If your view is Little House on the Prairie, but their view is, Starship Enterprise, then you do not match up. If their view is Little House on the Prairie, but your view is going working for Elon Musk, you don't match up. Okay, if both of your views is going to work for NASA and going to work for Bill Gates, well, they don't match up because now you're no longer working together in terms of something because your entire life is taken up by work. But if it's family, if it's work, if it's business, if it's everything that's there, and the significant other expects you to sit at home raising the kids, Little House on the Prairie, you have to decide, is that the kind of life I want? Is that what I'm about? You have to understand your roles in the relationships as well. For some, the female will be the breadwinner for a period of time, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're building your business and you're giving it everything you've got. The female will be the breadwinner. Equally, if you're a female and you're wanting to build your own business, well, while you're doing stuff, the male is going to be the breadwinner, and you're going to be all right with that. You've got to know in yourself. It's like, okay, fine, this is for temporary. It's not forever, okay? I think the final thing that I've got to say about this as well is understand your strengths and weaknesses. I'll give you a prime example. I'm the one that does the big stuff, okay, in our relationship. So, for example, if there's a wall that needs knocking down, if there is dynamite that needs, something blowing up, if there's a website that needs building, sorry, I'm wrecking things here in all the excitement. If there's a website that needs building, Epic Wolf 3 is back from the journey. Great to see you back with us this week, Epic Wolf 3. Delighted you're here. Yes, Little House on the Prairie, give you giggles. But if there is something big that needs to be done, I'm usually the one that does that. But Katie will come along once I've knocked the wall down, and she will start doing the intricate little details. She is the one with the patience of a saint. So, for example, again, when we were cornicing the roof and the ceilings downstairs, I would be the one that cut them. I'd be the one that would do what I needed to do, and I'd be the one that would hold them. But she would be the one to do the finicky little details because that is her strength. Katie loves to cook. I love to eat, so it works really well. But in all seriousness, though, so she spends an enormous amount of time studying and cooking programs, studying food, studying combinations, studying seasoning. It's what she loves to do. It's one of the biggest ways that she expresses love. And again, I love to eat it, so it's wonderful. For me, I work, I do business, I do the entrepreneur stuff. I know the business inside and out. For her, she'd be bored stupid. For me, I'd be bored stupid, standing there cooking, baking all the time. You got to know your strengths that come together. But in a deeper sense as well, you've also got to know what are your strengths personality-wise? What are your strengths as a couple? One of you may be more logical than the other. The other one may be really emotional. One of you may be swayed really easily. One of you may be really stoic in your approach and just don't suffer fools gladly. One of you may be a people pleaser and is just going to go along with anything. The other one may be willing to tell somebody where to go. So it's important that you get to know your strengths. And again, that has to come through conversation. The art of conversation seems to be one of the most lost talents that people face. I'm just making sure that we haven't missed anything here. Again, if you've got any final comments and questions, if you've got any questions for us, because I know we've had a lot of people on and off today, then please do feel free. Get in touch. If you have any question about relationships, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but at least I'm willing to explore it. As someone that's been in relationships now and married for 10 years, I may know a little bit, but not very much. But also as well, be willing to have the arguments, be willing to have the rows, be willing to have the conversations that are uncomfortable. Be willing to talk about sex. Be willing to talk about your sexual struggles. They're out there, because here's the thing. So you're going to find out two things when you're having these kind of conversations. The first one is you're going to find out, can I trust my significant other with this piece of information? The second thing is you're going to know how your significant other responds when you give them things like struggling with pornography, struggling with alcohol, past addictions, past relationships, even past children, past engagements, whatever it might be. Okay, you need to be able to have those conversations. Why are they important? Because if you don't have them in a calm setting, then you are going to have them in an angry, furious setting. And that is never good, because that's where most relationships really, really struggle. We have got a question. I think having these conversations has been so helpful. It can be embarrassing to speak on some topics to get to, but it really helps get you on the same page with your partner. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is vital that you're able to have these conversations, because that is the foundation and basis of a relationship. And again, people get so scared. They're like, but if I had this conversation with the person and they leave me, what do I do? Well, now you know. Now you know. So rather than laying awake every single night for the next 40 years, frightened that they're going to find out something about you that's maybe, you know. And okay, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. It sucks in the short term, but in the long term, you know that you need to go to work on yourself and try and get rid of the issues that, again, are struggling. But B, you know that person probably wasn't the person for you if they can't handle some of the struggles you're going through. Literally, when it says, till death do us part, in sickness, in health, forsaking all others, literally abandonment, of everything else, you are the person for me, whatever we go through, it means you will go through hell together. You will absolutely, and I literally, believe me, you will go through absolute hell together. You will. And if you sit there thinking, oh, this is lovely, lovely, believe me, trust me in this. When I say you are going to go through things as a couple that you would never, ever thought possible. You really, really will. Again, so to wrap up, what have we talked about here today, folks? We talked about narcissism and how to watch out, how to find out if your significant other is a narcissist. Again, we're looking at if they're emotionless, if they're trying to get you by yourself, if they're trying to manipulate you, they want to get all of the support away from you. They're literally playing head games with you all the time to the point that you can't function without them. And then they'll just leave, and they're cold and emotionless and everything. So this is what you're going to look out for. Okay, so ladies in particular, if you are looking and you're dealing with narcissists, then this is what to look out for, and avoid them at all costs. That's the first thing. Second thing is you have to have the relationship conversations, the awkward, uncomfortable conversations, because at least, if nothing else, if the relationship ends, but you've had the conversation, hopefully your significant other will have enough respect for you, enough love, care for you, enough kindness for you that they're able to say, okay, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person, but I still want this person as a friend. I still want to be able to talk to this person, and maybe I need to get this person help. And if this person gets help, then we'll see from there. But right now, they're not in a place where they, again, have the uncomfortable conversation, because it's better in the short term than you do in the long term. And talk about sex. Have fun talking about sex. Here's the thing. Honestly, I've found when you talk about it in such a almost like nonchalant way, it's like, don't build this up in your head. It's like, okay, we're just talking about sex. It takes so much pressure off it. If you talk about things almost as if, literally, it literally just doesn't. I can't even describe it, how little pressure then becomes, again, just don't build it up in your head. I think we're pretty much done. I know we're just about out of time. I know we ran over a little bit there, folks. So much for making a half-hour show, but I know I was a little bit all over the place today. Today's been a really busy week. So as we wrap up the show, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you are interested in mental health therapy, head on over to thejohnmorris.co.uk. You can check out a brand new website. It's a two-pronged approach, folks. Easy for me to say at this time of the day, isn't it? It's a two-pronged approach. The first one is we deal with the mind, body, and soul. So we're dealing with the inner you. Secondly, we're dealing with the external, which is where the artwork comes in, because I'm a professional artist, in case you didn't know. We talked about that earlier on the show. And literally, you can change your life by changing your environment. So if you're surrounding yourself with grays and colds and darks and misery, then you're wondering why you feel like absolute abject poverty and suffering and everything else. That's what we'll look at. Okay, and you can change your environment like that. You can change your mind like that. It all comes from a thought. And when you understand how your thoughts work, you will literally understand how to change your entire life. A thought leads to a feeling, to an action, to emotions, all that kind of stuff. It all connects, and it takes 0.009 of a millisecond to go from here to here. So there you go. As always, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share, tell your friend, because it could be the very thing that they need to hear. If there are no further comments and questions, it's been a joy and a pleasure once more to be with you. And until next week, take care, God bless, and we'll see you soon.
Mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul.